It's froze over, y'all. It's froze over. The jet stream dips into the center of North America. Has it always been like that? Damn. It's literally ice outside, like 5 inches of ice. And then they didn't want to talk about ice on TV. Like the federal government, like Trump's government, didn't want them to say that ice was all over the South. They wanted them to use the term freezing rain. It's like they only want to traumatize the blue states. That's what it looks like, y'all. But there is ice in the South states. It's just not as bad as what they're doing up north. And I'm sure it is worrisome for a lot of brown people in America right now. Especially like Trump tried to revoke people's rights, like their birthright citizenship, which is in the Constitution. They keep trying to change the Constitution, y'all. And the Constitution is what America is barely holding on to in the Bill of Rights. He tried to blame Chinese people for coming to America just to make a baby. I ain't never heard about that. As a matter of fact, I haven't seen a lot of Chinese people. Like every time I look at them videos from like California, it does look like a lot of Asian people in California because it's like actually the closest to China. But I've never seen a lot of Chinese people. That's why for the longest I was like fascinated by all these Chinese, like all these Asian people on YouTube. Ain't y'all? Ain't y'all? It's like oh man. I just put some Papatui on my face. I need some freaking 5-in-1. I need some castor oil particle for men type stuff. I was playing Far Cry 5 and then my connection dropped. It's only 4 people in there. Oh man. I can't connect to the game session. What about another one? The other one worked. Yeah, but it's froze over. People in Mississippi, there's a lot of people in Mississippi don't have power. I saw that the power lines went down. They got covered in ice and freezing rain. And it just It just like sink the power lines. Somebody made a South Park map? Wow.
Team deathmatch.
It's like what they did to Alex Pretty. He was a protester, and they ganged up on him. Trump's military. Some people called them Trump's mercenaries. But it's George Bush's ICE, Immigration Customs Enforcement. George W. Bush, the one that started that ever since 2001. But I heard that the Republicans always, like since the 50s, they always made like immigrants the bad guy. But really, you know, the rich people, like the billionaires, like they used to pay more in taxes, and now they don't pay that much in taxes anymore. So that's really why it looks like the people that pay the most in taxes comparably are regular people. Regular people. You, me, the middle class, the working class. It's basically the working class, and then the billionaire class. Well, I guess the millionaire class, I guess they could take it easy if they want to, right? But the middle class is really the working class. They just changed it to the middle class so they could feel like they're higher up than poor people. This dude made a South Park map. The buildings look like South Park. I like how he got Asses of Fire up there and he doesn't get banned for a week like on Gran Turismo. I put on on one of my cars the paint job with the stickers and stuff. It was a Mini Cooper. You know them little cars, the Mini Coopers? Like I put a sticker on the side 69 and then like ass sniffer. 69 and ass sniffer is the stickers that I put on my car. Man, I got banned for a week because of that. Yo, go ahead and bark into the microphone. Just bark in it. Oh my god. People were probably like, what the hell? This dude's nuts. Y'all didn't know there was a car on this map? Oh, my shaft itches a little bit. Yo, they got these laser hair removal stuff that don't even burn now. Like, I saw it on TV the other day, like on a QVC. It's like a call-in thing when you can order it. Women are like completely destroying their armpit hair, their face hair, and probably their hair down there. And I'm like, yeah, there is a few spots I would like to remove the hair down there too. Like on my shaft. on my shaft, around my shaft. I'm tired of shaving. You know, you shave a lot, and then you end up having sex. What they call it is pineapple D. Like, you end up having pineapple D because it's like stubble down there. You know, like if you shave right here and you get some stubble, that stuff hurt. So eventually y'all get raw. Like, I should have did laser hair removal a long time ago. Why didn't, you know? Now I don't even have sex. I gotta try not to catch prostate cancer by the time I'm in my 50s. You know, blend a whole lemon, put a whole lemon in the blender. Can you imagine going on a date and then you're like, I want you to laser hair removal my pubes, my pubic. Yeah, that's real. That's real, y'all. I'ma do it. I'ma do it. I heard old people don't even have pubic hair anyways. I'm like, what the fuck? That's scary. No. Wow, this game is awesome. Far Cry 5 Deathmatch is so much better than on GTA 5 Deathmatch. Oh shit! This game's awesome.
You're about to lose.
Bruh. Bruh.
You're close to defeat. You're about to lose. Failure is imminent.
They even put a dog out there on the map. It's a South Park map on Far Cry 5.
You're close to defeat. Failure.
Shit. I like it. It was good. It's a full lobby now. No, it's half a full lobby. Over half. This game's still going on strong because of creator mode. It's still going on strong because of creator mode, y'all. I'm about to get butt ass naked. Not really. Oh! Yeah, where's all the social media where we can get butt ass naked on? Oh, is that on Scrawler? Just saw.
Deathmatch.
Not this one, man. This map sucks. I don't like this map. It's the one that's that shovel map on that boxing thing. I don't like this map, man. That map sucks. I'm gonna leave. I don't like this map. It's stupid. I'm gonna leave. Yeah, quit that. That map was beyond retarded. It was beyond stupid. Does it even remember my freaking save data, man? Well, that worked because I finished the game. I finished the game and I just didn't do fishing on it. It did work. There's still bad guys on the map, though. What?
Hell yeah, Sharky here. We're setting up a surprise barbecue.
This is not it. Nope, this is without me finishing it. Guess I'll try it again. It shouldn't download that fast. Yet it does, man. That shit don't work, man. They got y'all. If y'all don't save y'all save data on a USB like 2 or 3 times to make sure it's not corrupted, y'all ain't even gonna have y'all save data on a video game, man. Talking about PlayStation.
Israel too, one of the obvious targets for Iran, whether they are prepared in terms of their defensive setup. What is your estimation now, a couple of weeks on, in terms of the possibilities around retaliation?
Well, I think there's 2 things to bear in mind here. First of all is the American ability to defend against it, and of course that
Yo, is Tom Hartman on already?
And a moral outrage, and he's writing under the headline twice within a...
Because we think we're doing the right thing. Let the justice system do its work. Let this case be tried. But my guess right now is that these lawyers, ambitious as they are going to have a very hard time.
Kevin, just quickly with you again, because you were at one point looking to buy...
Third hour of our program, Italy says no to ice for Winter Olympics. And no, we're not talking about frozen water ice. So a lot going on, a lot to talk about today. And of course, your calls as well. But my op-ed today over at HartmanReport.com is titled, it's my daily take, it's titled, Once Again, Under the Shadow of Authoritarian Power, Americans Must Decide What Kind of Nation We Will Become. Neil Howe, the historian who's been a guest on this program before, has a book out, a new book out. It's called The Fourth Turning Is Here. And he points out that basically every 80 years, America reboots itself. And even before we were America. I mean, nobody's exactly sure why it's 80 years, and maybe that's how long it takes for a generation that lived through something to die out so they can no longer yell at their peers, hey, wait, stop, we did that before and it screwed things up. Nobody knows for sure exactly why. Strauss and Howe have this elaborate theory about 4 generations in a row that, set these kinds of things up. And it makes sense to me, but bottom line, nobody knows why. But every 80 years, something happens here. For example, The government's heavily armed men walked the streets as enforcers of religious conformity, making sure everybody went to church on Sunday. If you didn't pay your taxes to the church, if you didn't attend church, you could be put in jail. Then came the Glorious Revolution and the end of King James II's reign in England.
That's why people don't like the
English
church no more.
colony at that time.
Damn.
And the idea of religious freedom came to British America, which was later enshrined in the First Amendment. The year was 1690. Roughly 80 years later, the government's heavily armed agents were roaming the streets looking for people who'd spoken out against King George III or his East India Company. If you defied them, they could imprison or even shoot you. The people were enraged. They rose up. It was called they threw the tea in the harbor. The Boston Tea Party. It was the beginning of the American Revolution. It was 1773.
Wow.
80 years after the American Revolution. Once again, armed enforcers of the government were stalking the streets, this time in the Confederate South. They hunted abolitionists, journalists, and people of color who dared challenge the brutal system of racial hierarchy and human bondage. It was the late 1850s. 80 years after the end of the Civil War, the government's agents, heavily armed, are going door to door in communities across western states looking for people of color. Rachel Maddow just did this brilliant podcast about it called Burn Order. Americans and immigrants of Japanese ancestry will immediately seize and put into concentration camps scattered around the country. It was 1942. And exactly 80 years after the end of World War II, Donald Trump sent his heavily armed agents into American communities on so-called Kavanaugh stop missions, because Brett Kavanaugh said, oh yeah, if their skin is dark, you can stop them. You don't need to have any, real reason. They're being imprisoned in privately run for-profit concentration camps around the country. And people are standing up to it.
Yeah.
But the agents think that J.D. Vance was telling the truth when he said that they could kill people without any problem because they have absolute immunity.
Hell no.
In each one of these moments, America faced a choice. In 1690, we chose religious freedom. In 1770, we rejected having a king. In 1860, we rejected fascism in the southern half of the United States. In 1943, we freed the 140,000 Japanese immigrants. And here we are, 81 years after the end of World War II, and once again, we're confronting this authoritarian crisis and this question: what kind of country will we be? Now, average American citizens are stepping up.
Yeah.
Millions of us have shown up in the streets. And there have been a few real stars on the Democratic side: Tim Walz, J.B. Pritzker, Jacob Frey, Keith Ellison, Gavin Newsom. But outside of them, Democrats, particularly leadership Democrats, have failed to meet the moment. 9 turncoat Democrats voted last week to give ICE more money, right? Henry Cuellar and Vicente Gonzalez of Texas, Jared Golden of Maine, Marie Gluesenkamp Perez of Washington, Don Davis of North Carolina, and Laura Gillen and Tom Suozzi of New York, all voted to give ICE more money. More money, not just to continue, but let's have more ICE. And Hakeem Jeffries did nothing to punish them. Not a single one of them lost a single committee assignment or any of the other perks of their office that Hakeem Jeffries can control. No one from Democratic leadership or the DNC, to the best of my knowledge, has meaningfully changed the power or death dealing of the Trump regime. That's got to change. But as a result of the Democratic leadership being asleep at the switch or hiding under a mattress in Washington, D.C., or whatever the hell they're doing, average Americans have picked up the slack. And we are showing up. We are doing things. Emperor Trump's response has been brutal, murdering citizens in the streets and then defiantly lying about it. As a result, we're at another one of these crisis turning points, just like in 1490, just like the War of the Roses, the 1570 Armada crisis, the 1690s Glorious Revolution, the 1770s, American Revolution, the 1860s Civil War, the Republican Great Depression, and World War II. And today's Trump fascism crisis. Each one of these great turnings in the past has produced a positive step forward for America. Religious freedom, political freedom, civil rights. 6 times we have chosen to become a more progressive nation. What will we choose this time? I mean, no outcome is guaranteed, but we are once again at a time of choosing. And, it's an important one. I got this note from a person in Minnesota who said, here's a few of the things that may not be making national news. A beloved local donut shop in Minneapolis, Glam Doll Donuts, across the street from where Alex Preddy died, has turned into a warming house and medic center for protesters. A 70-year-old independent bookstore, Dream Haven Books, down the street, the owner expressed his pain on camera, walked through a tear gas crowd, and his website crashed less than 24 hours later from business and donations. The day after tear gas bombs destroyed a Minneapolis neighborhood, sending a 6-month-old baby to the hospital, a small church community cleaned up the mess of pepper balls and tear gas containers so the neighbors didn't have to wake up to the memories. A local independent journalist, Mercado Media, pounding the streets every day. They've talked to 75,000 community members. A local sex-positive adult store, the Smitten Kitten, has completely transformed into a donation and distribution center. A local pizza place, Rectangle Pizza, raised over $83,000 in a few days to support families who are sheltering in place. Tow truck companies are donating their services to clean up accidents and abandoned vehicles left by ICE. Multi-faith spiritual leaders are spearheading sit-ins at corporate headquarters.
That man's
Social
smart as
workers are
fuck.
taking children home with them who were abandoned because their parents were snatched by ICE. Animal shelters are rescuing pets left alone for days or weeks. Every restaurant, church, karate dojo, dance studio, school, all these small businesses are forming a supportive network for people. And women who are moms and work full-time jobs are donning reflective vests and shifts to stand watch at bus stops, city parks, and grocery stores. And the Minnesota National Guard is passing out donuts and coffee to protesters. We are making our choice. It certainly appears to me.
Yeah.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
It's crazy.
Democratic leadership hides in D.C. 16 minutes.
It's amazing.
We'll be right back.
It's amazing versus crazy. Too far left, too far right.
And welcome back, Tom in Marshall, Michigan. Hey, Tom, what's on your mind today?
I remember a decade or two ago, maybe longer, there was a journalist you interviewed, and he had written a book about...
Tom, I'm having a hard time hearing / understanding you. If you're...
He said / understand.
Bluetooth or something, can you...
I'll turn the speaker off.
Yeah, thank you very much. Now I can understand you.
Okay. 2 or 3 decades ago, you had interviewed a journalist, and he wrote a book with K Street in the title. And he had spent 3 or 4 months with young Republicans in a corporate-owned building there. And he said that the guy he talked to had been chosen by God and said he could sexually assault a 5-year-old, and that would be okay with God because they were the chosen one.
That's mental
Do you remember
illness.
the title of that book or anything? I think that's got a lot to do with the attitude of Republicans these days in not releasing the Epstein files.
I don't, Tom. I'm sorry.
Oh boy, I Googled it and looked for it, but God, it was shocking and holy cow.
You know, most of my interviews, I don't recall that specific interview. In fact, I think I would remember if somebody said, yeah, go ahead and assault a kid, but maybe, it's entirely possible. Most of our interviews live on YouTube, for what it's worth. So you might want to go there and, search back through that, although,
Y'all subscribe to Tom on
There's a
YouTube.
lot of content there. Tom, good luck. Let me know if you find it.
Thank you very much. Love your show. Take care.
Thank you. Bye now. Omar in Herndon, Virginia. Hey, Omar, what's up?
Tom, thanks so much for taking my call. That was a weird call. Tom, just for the record, Virginia is blue. We own the governor, attorney general, and all House and the Senate. It's blue, and it's bulletproof. And we're going to start gerrymandering. Ms. Spanberger promised that. I spoke to her in person at her inauguration, and she said that they will add 2 seats to the Senate. They're going to gerrymander and redraw the map.
Good.
But I wanted to talk to you about, Tom. You seen the testimony of Mrs. Smith on Friday, right? He said there's a reasonable doubt that he had evidence that Trump committed a crime, why didn't he prosecute it? Why didn't he put up his case? Why didn't he hold a press conference like Comey did to say that Trump is under investigation, though he has evidence that he committed a crime?
Because
the Biden administration,
because
the Biden administration told him not to do it. The Biden administration told him not to do it.
Well, I'm pretty sure, Omar, that what was going on was that both Jack Smith and Merrick Garland and probably Joe Biden were saying, let's not appear political. That's not the American way. Our criminal justice system is supposed to act without favor or malice, and without fear or favor. We're supposed to operate basically on the law rather than on somebody's politics. So let's be careful not to make it look like we're gloating about going after Trump or that we have some kind of political agenda here. If you find a crime, prosecute the crime. But let's not turn it into a spectacle. My guess is that was the message that was conveyed to Jack Smith, or that he had already internalized, because that's basically how most prosecutors operate. It's only the occasional grandstander with political ambitions, like Rudy Giuliani, back when he was mayor of New York, bragging about, busting my best friend for having cigarette papers. It's just, normally you don't see that kind of thing.
Yeah, but then he failed us. He failed us. All this carnage that we're facing right now.
Well, I don't think Jack Smith failed us. I mean, Jack Smith, you could argue he made a strategic mistake by going for Florida to prosecute Trump for stealing the documents, because of the risk of getting an alien cannon. But other than that, I think he did everything right. The problem was he was 2 years too late because of Merrick Garland. Thanks, Omar. Change starts with you. You can be calling your Democratic or Republican representatives to let them know what you think by calling 202-224-3121. It's the Capitol switchboard. It'll get you right through to them. Other countries enjoy benefits like free health care in college, modern mass transit, affordable housing, food, and drugs. They also have inexpensive internet and phone service without companies listening and selling their information. Schools that don't need to mention school shooters. Streets and parks filled with pedestrians and children instead of tents and homeless people. We, on the other hand, have the world's largest collection of billionaires. Most Americans probably didn't realize this was the choice they were making back in the election of 1980 when Reagan and Bush promised morning in America. But here we are. We have been just basically sold out to the billionaires by all these years of Republican, Reaganomics. What do we do about it? Well, there's a lot we can do about it, and it starts with getting politically active. There's a great op-ed about this over at HartmanReport.com. It's titled, America Chose Wealth Over Well-Being. Check it out.
Here you come with the AI songs.
Every 80 years it comes around. Heavy boots make a marching sound. They call it order, they call it law. But I've seen what that order costs. Kings and bosses, flags and fear. They say be quiet, don't stand here. But every lie they dress as truth gets torn apart by what we choose. This is the time of choosing now. Stand your ground or take the vow to bow your head and lose your name, or light the fire and face the flame.
23 minutes past the hour. Effing insane is what a journalist, political reporter Kyle Cheney is calling this. He has looked into the cases of ICE detentions since July and found 2,300 cases where the Trump regime has illegally detained people who were here in this country legally. For example, there is a woman, her name is Sonic Manasirian. She's Iranian, and she's a Baha'i. Now, in Iran, they execute Baha'i people. They are considered, apostates, heretics, traitors to Islam. And so she is chronically ill, 70 years old. She came to this country to avoid religious persecution. She applied for asylum. She has lived here peacefully for 26 years, complied with all the check-in requirements and other conditions. Every 6 months shows up at ICE and says, here I am. Has no known criminal record, poses no threat to anyone. And if she's sent back to Iran, she will be executed.
What the fuck?
Well, they just sent her back to Iran.
Oh.
There's another one. Friday,
Iran
which
sucks.
Judge freed Alberto J., a Mexican man residing in that state. This was in Minnesota. Quote, where he and his wife have lived and raised 3 children together over the last 20 years. He has no criminal history. Here's another ruling from Friday, freeing a man detained by ICE in Minnesota who suffered severe head injuries during his arrest and has been hospitalized since. The man claims ICE has required him to be shackled in the hospital against the wishes of the doctors. Here's another Minnesota ruling. It came in just tonight. A federal judge is threatening DHS with contempt for transferring a petitioner out of the state despite a court order saying you may not do that. A journalist added Judge Catherine Menendez, who issued last week's injunction against ICE's retaliatory use of pepper spray, just ordered the release of a Kenyan woman arrested while picking up seizure medication at CVS. The Fifth Amendment says that no person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. And this is what they're doing. They're ignoring due process. Cheney notes, or actually the lawyer for this Iranian woman notes, this is effing insane. What reforms are supposed to fix an agency that commits 2,300 adjudicated constitutional violations in just 6 months? And those are just the ones that made it to court that we know about. Meanwhile, Tom Suozzi, one of the 7 Democrats who voted to increase funding for ICE, is now groveling before his voters in New York. Similarly, I see Perez, Marie Gluesenkamp Perez in Vancouver, is now saying, oh, we need to do something about ICE. She voted to increase their budget also. He says, I fail to view the funding vote as a referendum. I hear from the anger from many of my constituents, and I take responsibility for that. I must do a better job. Yeah, good luck with that, Tom. Take the money from the lobbyists, from the private prison operators, from the people who are supplying weaponry to ICE, and vote with them. You get in trouble.
The Thom Hartmann Program. Call 202-808-9925.
Just ask Marie Gluesenkamp Perez. 27 minutes past the hour. We'll be right back. Our book today is Future War, Preparing for the New Global Battlefield by Robert, I believe it's pronounced Latif, L-A-T-I-F-F. This is from the introduction. On a sweltering August day following weeks of heightened tension with Russia over its actions in Ukraine and Syria, and harsh words between the United States and China over actions in the South China Sea, and as workers are preparing to depart the cool of their air-conditioned Manhattan office buildings for the gridlocked highways and subways, several large electric power plants along the East Coast simultaneously experience dramatic overspeed conditions in their large turbine generators. Plant operators are unable to stop the steam turbines, whose automatic control and data systems have been infected by sophisticated computer malware, and they catastrophically tear themselves apart, cutting power to large segments of the population and industries in the Northeast. Building systems shut down, hospitals switch to emergency generators, trains stop running, traffic lights cease operating, and Wall Street trading comes to a halt. At the same time, 1,100 miles to the south, a massive rocket sits fueled and ready to launch a critical national security satellite when an explosive-laden private aircraft flies at low altitude into the Cape Canaveral launch pad area and, despite repeated warnings, slams into the pressurized fuel tank and solid rocket motors, creating an enormous conflagration. Half a world away, elite commandos equipped with the latest high-technology equipment but unidentifiable as a national army attack U.S. and allied interests near areas of disputed territory. Thus are fired the opening shots of a new war. These hypothetical events represent a radically different style of conflict fought with new tools against new and unfamiliar enemies. When most people think of war, they imagine soldiers doing battle with other soldiers, employing tanks, artillery, and other recognizable weapons. However, in this century, war has morphed into something we can scarcely recognize, and future conflicts will be qualitatively and quantitatively unlike those of the past. They will be fought using innovative and unusual weapons, many of which, because the technologies have both civilian and military uses, will be available to far more people who are far less skilled in their employment. The so-called democratization of technology has diminished the monopoly of advanced countries on the tools of war. 21st century armed conflicts often have no battlefield in the traditional sense. The concept of opposing armies clashing in deadly struggle but moderated by international conventions of behavior seems a thing of the past. In 1999, Chinese colonels Kuo Liang and Wang Shuangshui predicted that soldiers would increasingly be computer hackers, financiers, drug smugglers, and agents of private corporations rather than members of a military, and that their weapons would include not only airplanes, cannons, poison gas bombs, and biochemical agents, but also computer viruses, net browsers, and financial derivative tools. Their predictions were prescient. Yesterday's wars were, like World War II, about saving civilized nations from maniacal dictators, or like the conflicts in Vietnam and Korea, devoted to a clash of ideologies in the attempt to limit the spread of one hegemon over another. They were big affairs involving large military forces and enormous violence. Today's wars are more about cultural and religious hatreds, using violence as a means to change the hearts and minds of people, among whom the killing occurs with more frequency. Tomorrow's wars will be different still, fought largely for political dominance with stealth and cunning, targeting innocents and institutions, heavily dependent on information superiority, and employing strange new weapons. While we have a highly motivated and well-trained and equipped armed forces that will adapt, we are not prepared as a nation to react well to the inevitably messy and ambiguous situations these new conflicts and weapons will present. We still have no clear idea of what constitutes an act of war in cyberspace now, nor of how we might respond to such an act. It is not enough for the military to be prepared. Neither the public nor its decision makers have yet fully comprehended the significance of the changes in the types of conflict and the tools with which they will be fought. Without question, there will be circumstances when decision makers will find it necessary, or at least think it necessary, to send soldiers into classic boots-on-the-ground combat situations. We will continue to project force with our powerful aircraft, our munitions, and our aircraft carrier strike groups. When war is fought in foreign lands, it could well be against other high-tech armies. However, war will increasingly be more personal and often fought closer to home. It will not lend itself to the traditional massive displays of U.S. firepower. It will affect individuals directly, not as some distant conflict we read about in newspapers or watch in the movies or on the internet. Americans will be targeted on U.S. soil, often, as we have seen in San Bernardino and Orlando, by homegrown terrorists. This form of war will be messy and complex, and it will not lend itself to easy, quick, soundbite solutions. It may not even be clear for a while who perpetrated the violence against us. Was it state-sponsored or a random act of terror? Will we unleash massive destruction on foreign countries in retaliation for attacks by terrorists residing on our own soil? If so, to what end and with what consequences? There are always consequences, whether they be the death or capture of our own troops, unnecessary civilian casualties, or the incitement of more violence. The book Future War by Robert Latif.
Y'all subscribe to Thom Hartmann, man.
you know that every weekday we send out an email before the show giving you all the topics coming up so you can be fully informed and ready to interact?
Subscribe to Tom Hartman. He's a million times smarter than Joe Rogan.
A list of every topic I've discussed, clickable hot links to every source of information I've shared with you on the air. It's all completely
No, Joe
free
Rogan
and
pretty damn
available
smart,
over
but
at
Tom Hartman's like,
THOM.
he's a giant brain.
Check it out.
I'd say he's about 100 times smarter than Joe Rogan.
They came with swords, they came with crowns.
You know, in a different way.
Warlords burning cities down.
Because he actually reads books.
Blood on their hands, drawing borders and stolen lands. The kings declared it's heaven's right, while peasants vanished in
I know,
the
I barely read
Our
myself.
fathers rose with muskets bold to end the reign of thrones and gold. No kings, no lords, no holy thrones, no tyrants ruling over our bones. Raise your voice, let history know.
That's an AI song. Everybody making AI songs now.
Bow to democracy's three deadliest foes.
35 minutes past the hour. Welcome back. Picking up your calls here. Ken in Woodbridge, Virginia. Hey, Ken, what's up?
How you doing, Tom? I love your show. I learn something every day. Listen to it.
Well, thank you, Ken.
My question is, I'm hearing stories of some kind of a sonic weapon that was used by the U.S. government when they took Maduro down in Venezuela.
Yeah, I've seen the reports.
I also heard a few years back that the Russians were using some kind of sonic weapon against American diplomats around the world.
Yep.
And I just recently I heard that somebody at the Minneapolis rioting scene up there, where I think where the ICE agents were staying at, somebody used a sonic weapon on the people who were not rioting, but were picketing out in front, I believe out in front of the hotel. I'm not sure exactly where it was, but they were claiming they used. Then now the U.S. government has evidently has figured out how to produce this. I think you can wear it in a backpack, and it produces some kind of sonic waves that just, it just cripples whoever it hits. I was wondering if you knew anything about it.
Well, the first two examples,
that's sound technology.
I've read the press reports, in like major mainstream publications like the New York Times about the belief that a sonic weapon had been used when they captured Maduro. And that, for years, 60 Minutes first broke this story almost 15 years ago, I think, maybe longer. For years, there's been speculation that U.S. diplomats were the victims of this kind of weaponry. I've not heard anything about it being used in Minneapolis. Maybe somebody who lives there or, is more familiar with the situation can call in and let us know. But to the best of my knowledge, I haven't seen that report, Ken. Do you know where you saw it? Can you give me a source? I can go looking for it.
I'm not sure. I think I was listening to either Dino Badala or the gentleman who follows after him on the Progress channel. It slips my name right now, but. Anyway, I think I heard on one of those.
John Fugelsang.
I think it was one of the people who was.
Ken, I'll have to look. I'll let me see if I can track it down. I like I said, I have not heard that. If true, it would be horrifying. But I can't confirm it right now. But let me see what I can find out. Ken, thanks for the call. Ziggy in Oneonta, New York. Hey, Ziggy, what's up?
Tom, I'm concerned that Schumer and the rest of the Democrats are going to be played for suckers again. Anything less than no money to ICE will be a defeat. And I'll explain why. Let's say, hypothetically, Trump and the Republicans say to Schumer and them, we'll give you everything you want on ICE. We won't do an ass we'll follow the law, everything like that. Soon as the bill is signed and Trump passes money, he's going to go, ha ha, suckers. I'm going to do the same thing as I did with the Epstein files. You can pass any law you want. That doesn't mean I'm going to have to do it.
Yeah, I get it, Ziggy, and I don't disagree. Did you catch both Bill Clinton and Barack Obama issued statements yesterday that were just complete milquetoast? I mean, like, you know, oh, gee, we have to get the country back on track. We have to have a little concern and come back. No, we need to stop ICE. We need to take the word homeland out of the Department of Homeland Security. America's not a homeland. It's a republic. It is not an ethnic homeland for white nationalists. We need to get rid of the word homeland. We need to have Immigration and Customs Enforcement go back to what they were doing before Trump came on the scene, when they would show up in normal clothing in a rational fashion with a legal warrant and say, it's time for you to leave the country. And we'll facilitate that if you'd like, rather than, busting people's windows with batons and tear gassing people and, flashbangs and pepper spray and kicking people's doors in or rappelling off helicopters into buildings in Chicago. This is friggin' insane, Ziggy. It's just nuts. Ziggy, spot on. Yeah, spot on. I'm with you. Thank you. Lynette in St. Paul, Minnesota. Hey, Lynette, what's up?
Oh, hi, Tom. Thanks for taking my call. I'm really tired of pretend men. That's my new term for these walking around looking tough and just cowards. And I voted Democratic my whole life. I might have voted for an independent Republican years ago in Minnesota, but that's about it. But I did receive a letter from the Minnesota Republican Party a few days ago. They are totally using this whole Minnesota thing as a campaign tool. And on the outside of the envelope, it says, 2026 is the year Republicans take control of Minnesota. And that's the whole goal.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah, and
their gubernatorial candidate just said, screw it, we're being destroyed by the national Republicans.
Well, and I received this letter before that, but I don't think they care, really. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I'm just going to say, okay, one thing I thought was interesting, besides the ridiculousness of this, is it says Minnesota has become ground zero in the national fight to expose and end fraud. Finally, it's getting the attention it deserves from Donald Trump and Elon Musk. And the rest of America is finally seeing what we've been dealing with for years under Walz's failed leadership, which is why he is quitting. Yeah. And Elon Musk, did I vote for Elon Musk? Why is he listed here?
Yeah, well, beyond that, the whole fraud thing is really interesting. I want to do a deep dive on it in tomorrow's program. But this started in 2010, I believe. The state of Minnesota discovered this fraud. Or it started in the 2010s, teens. And in 2020, the Trump administration gave even more money to this one agency that Minnesota had determined was behaving in a fraudulent fashion. Minnesota tried to prosecute them, and the feds blocked it. If there's any, promoting the fraud seems to be what Trump was doing, not what Minnesota was doing. And the Walz administration has been trying to prosecute these people for some time. So, and it's not like the Somali community either. I mean, this whole shtick from Trump and from this young YouTube wannabe star is, it's these black Somalis. They're all thieves. It turns out that none of that's true. So anyhow, I'm going to be doing a deep dive on that in tomorrow's program. But I think you're right, Lynette. The only way they're going to take over Minnesota is if the governor does what Trump is demanding, which is to give his voting rolls to the Trump administration so that they can decide who to purge and who not to purge in Minnesota, just like they're doing in red states all over the country right now as we speak.
Yeah, and of course in this letter there's no mention to helping anyone or what they're going to do for me. No. If I switch parties, what are they going to do for me? About that.
They'll make sure that if you're a billionaire, you've got a tax cut. If you're a defense contractor, you sell weaponry, that you have huge contracts. If you're a bank, that you can rip off customers with impunity. But average people, no. The Republican Party hasn't given a rat's ass about average people since Dwight Eisenhower. And
can I just add one more thing here?
Sure.
And then there's a paragraph of, well, there's a lot, but I'm not going to read the whole thing. But this, of course, is what they are going to do for me. They will return common sense to our government. So Minnesota isn't allowing boys and girls sports in bathrooms and ending walls, making our state a trans refuge and an abortion destination.
Oh,
so
God.
I guess that's what they're doing for me.
Yeah, there you go. They're hating on, well, yeah, we got it. Lynette, thank you. Thanks for sharing that with us. That's a little horrific, but it's good to know. I appreciate the call. It's 44 minutes past the hour and a half. We'll be back with more of your calls in just a minute. It's the Thom Hartmann Program, defending America from the weapons of mass deception. I'll be right back with you.
You're listening to Thom Hartmann. Visit ThomHartmann.com for audio and video archives.
Speaking the truth to multinational corporations, the private prison companies, and Trump and Miller and Vance really rather didn't know all about. I'll be right back. And welcome back. Adam in Dallas, Texas. Hey, Adam, thanks for watching us on YouTube. What's up?
Hello. This call is not really for your audience. It's for the few maybe Fox News viewers or spies that listen to your show. Back in, I think, 2002, I had a Republican friend, and we were talking about the U.S. invasion of Afghanistan. Mm-hmm. And he's a Republican, and he was saying that this invasion was horrible and what they were doing in Afghanistan. And he also said the same about Iraq was horrible, and I asked him why. And he said, because it's just a matter of time before what they're doing over there comes here and is turned on the American people.
Good.
And
back in the 60s, we had a saying, the war always comes home. It's true.
Yeah. So now the tactics that they used in Iraq of like just busting people's homes down and going into homes and like dragging people out without any evidence or just hearsay of someone being a terrorist is happening all over the United States. And this could have been prevented if people took action back then. But they're so distracted with hedonistic things. In fact, I think more people are talking about the Super Bowl coming up in 2 weeks than they are about, you know, what's going on in Minneapolis. I think one of the first steps, in addition to what you've mentioned, is I think the people of the United States need to come together collectively and say, you know, just like Alcoholics Anonymous, you know, someone steps forward, hey, my name is John, and I'm an alcoholic. You know, they admit that they're an alcoholic, and that's the first step. I think, you know, people of the United States need to come forward and say, hey, you know, my name is Steve, I'm a hypocrite. You know, my name's, you know, Carl, and I'm a racist. And you might be thinking, that people might be thinking this is ridiculous, it can't be done. But in South Africa, it was done. And in fact, in Australia, they have 1 day out of the year they call Sorry Day. And I didn't know about this until I went down there, and I was like, what is this all about? And it's a day that Australians come together and they collectively apologize to the Aboriginal people that they mistreated in Australia.
Yeah.
And I just could never imagine that.
Yeah, Canada has something similar to that. I'm not sure if they have a National Day of Remembrance, but they renamed the Northern Territories, split it into two parts. One part has Indigenous governance. I mean, Canada's gone a long way toward trying to repair things with their Native people, with their Indigenous people.
Right. And just on your previous caller, Omar, he was talking about, you know, he was kind of ranting about why didn't Merrick Garland do this, or Biden prosecute Trump. But I think that we still have unhealed wounds from the Bush administration. And my question is why didn't Obama why didn't his administration go after Bush?
Yeah, for lying us into a war, you mean?
Yeah.
And for overseeing black sites and torture and murder, extrajudicial murders and things like that. I'm with you, Adam. I am sick and tired of Republican presidents having no accountability. Why does nobody point out that even the New York Times reported that Ronald Reagan screwed Jimmy Carter by cutting a deal with the Ayatollahs, or Richard Nixon cut a deal with the Vietnamese to screw LBJ and Hubert Humphrey? Thank you, Adam. Hey, thanks so much for sharing our program and for reaching out to our stations and sponsors and letting them know that you're listening. It really means a lot to us. Did you know that the ancient Roman Republic, which for 480 years was actually a democratic republic before Julius Caesar kind of ended the democracy phase and replaced it with the autocracy phase, that they were brought down by a very small group of very rich people. The richest man in ancient Rome was Marcus Licinius Crassus. He was the richest guy, the billionaire of Rome. And he frankly hated the Roman free bread for all welfare system. It was being paid for with his tax dollars, after all. So him and Pompey the Great and a few other rich guys got together, and they basically crashed Rome. They turned it into an oligarchy and then into a tyranny. And the parallels to what Trump is doing right now are absolutely shocking. There's an article about it over at HartmanReport.com titled "American Caesar: Trump's Path to Power Mirrors Rome's Darkest Days." Check it out. Welcome back. 9.5 minutes before the hour. And Mike in Gainesville, Virginia. Hey, Mike, what's up?
Hey, Tom. I'm going to answer one question that an earlier caller had. It's a radio frequency weapon that the Soviet Union was working on in the 1980s. That's totally unclassified, and it targets the inner ear. Mm-hmm. It basically gives you seasickness on land.
Right, and in some cases can even rupture your eardrums and cause bleeding in the inner ear. Yeah, I'm familiar with it. Do you know that it was used that this weapon has been used in Minneapolis?
I have no information of that. Yeah. Andrew, I just giving you these background.
Okay, well, thank you, Mike, for that. Let's ask John Parker, the reporter from KTNF. Mike, thank you for the call. John Parker, KTNF reporter and host, is on the line with us. KTNF, of course, is our Minneapolis affiliate. John, do you know of any stories of sonic weapons, have been alleged to have been used against American diplomats, being used by ICE against protesters in Minneapolis?
So I've heard about that, but we haven't been able to verify if it is happening or if it isn't happening. Okay. Even if it was happening, we wouldn't trust DHS to tell us or not. But we haven't seen any. They wouldn't tell us, but I haven't seen anything of witnesses that have captured video or photographs of it or describing.
The caller I had said that it was some protesters were outside an ICE hotel and the ICE agents used it on them. But, that's as specific as he was able to get. But his source was, somebody said to somebody said. So right now I'm scratching my head. So, John, how's Minneapolis today?
Well, we're still trying to figure out a lot of things. So I don't know if you were referencing the hotel last night, the Spring Hill Suites, that was, I don't want to say attacked, but there were protesters there, and there was some property damage. And the reason why they were there is the understanding was that's where Bofino was for his final night in the Twin Cities. So we don't know if he's still here, if he's already left. We also don't know how many agents he took with him. They said yesterday that there would be a number of agents that went, but they haven't given us a number.
Where are the 6 or 7 agents who murdered Alex Preddy?
Yes. So they have been reassigned out of state. Claims that they're on administrative leave.
So we'll never even know their names?
Sure are not here. They're not releasing them as of now.
Oh, my God. This is not due process. This is not a nation of laws, not men, to paraphrase John Adams.
And they are also claiming that DHS is claiming there are 4 body cameras that were operational, but we're a little skeptical about that because nobody has independently verified that those body cameras were on and that the footage actually is real. So they claim that they are reviewing it right now and they will release it, but the DHS has so consistently lied to us here locally, to officials, to law enforcement, to the public, that we really need to take that with a grain of salt when they go on Fox News and say that they have body cam footage.
Yeah. No, this is a completely out of control rogue agency.
It is. So this morning, Tom Homan, the border czar, met with Governor Walz, and the only specific thing that we have of what's come out of that meeting is that Minnesota's Department of Public Safety will be the primary liaison with Homan moving forward. Governor Walz's office told the press that he told Homan that there needs to be impartial investigations, there needs to be a reduction in agents, and that the, as they called it, an end to the campaign of retribution against Minnesota, end quote.
Did Walz ask Homan if he kept the $50,000 bribe?
Walz's office did not tell us whether he asked about that or not. But
firing minds want
maybe we'll find it. Maybe we'll find it here, and
there you go, in the burger bag.
Right. Exactly. So in terms of the lawsuits, so yesterday the 8th Circuit Court of Appeals allowed DHS and agents to continue using tear gas, green gas, chemical irritants to disperse crowds. The state's argument essentially was that that's their go-to, what the agents are using. They're not distinguishing in between. But the court ruled that it would be too difficult for agents to determine who's being peaceful and who's not being peaceful, and they shouldn't have to worry about.
This was the 8th Circuit, right? Which has, as I recall, 11 Republicans and 1 Democrat on it, or something like that. There's only 1 Democrat on the entire 8th Circuit. I don't recall the total number of judges on that circuit.
Yes, it is one of the most conservative, along with the 5th Circuit.
Yeah. Okay. Pardon my interrupting you.
But the other case that was happening was around the entire operation. So in District Court Judge Menendez midday yesterday said that she wasn't going to issue a ruling, but that shouldn't be interpreted as anything. And then late last night, she sent a letter to the government asking them to respond to, in writing, the state's allegations that they are violating our 10th Amendment rights, and that she put a deadline on that for tomorrow by 5 or 6 p.m. They have to respond to that. So we probably still won't have a ruling from her even this week, depending on how fast she's able to process this.
Very interesting stuff. John, thank you. Thanks for keeping us up to date. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you, Tom.
John Parker with KTNF. We will be right back with more of the news of the day and your calls in just a moment. We're hitting the top of the hour. The dollar is crashing. What's the Fed going to do about that? It's getting wild. Stick around.
You're listening to Thom Hartmann.
Today into the Thom Hartmann Book Club is The Age of Illusions, How America Squandered Its Cold War Victory by Andrew Bacevich. This is from the introduction. Without the Cold War, what's the point of being an American? Henry Rabbit Angstrom, novelist John Updike's late.
So, you thought you were making a smart, eco-friendly choice, helping the planet, investing in the future, but turns out the CEO of your sleek self-driving ride is now the poster boy for hate speech, far-right extremism, and billionaire temper tantrums. But don't worry, you can reclaim your dignity by donating your Tesla or any car to support independent progressive media. It's easy! We'll take that problematic vehicle off your hands, and in return, you get a tax deduction, a clean conscience, and the joy of knowing Elon Musk gets one less advertisement on the road. You could keep driving it, but do you really want to be seen in that car? Donate your Tesla today, or your Prius, or your 1998 Honda Civic with 300,000 miles. Just anything but your soul. To learn more, visit vehiclesforcharity.org.
The most dangerous corporation in America is one you may not have heard of. It's called Palantir Technologies, a Silicon Valley tech company that may put your most basic freedoms at risk. Palantir gets its name from a device used in The Lord of the Rings. If this weren't such a serious subject, I'd spend the whole video making funny Lord of the Rings references. I won't do that because there's nothing funny about the real dangers of Palantir. Think about this. What do AI, the US military, domestic surveillance, and the tech oligarchy all have in common? Palantir, co-founded by far-right billionaire Peter Thiel and its current CEO Alex Karp.
We buy a lot of things from Palantir.
In J.R.R. Tolkien's Lord of the Rings, a Palantir is a seeing stone, something like a crystal ball, that can be used to spy on people and distort the truth. During the War of the Ring, a Palantir falls under the control of the evil Sauron, who uses it to manipulate and deceive. Palantir Technologies bears a striking similarity. It sells AI-based data platforms that let their clients, governments, militaries, and law enforcement agencies quickly process and analyze massive amounts of your personal data, whether it's social media profiles, bank account records, tax history, medical history, or driving records. The tools that Palantir sells are used to help clients identify and monitor individuals like you. Why should this matter to you? Billions of your tax dollars are going to Palantir, and what Palantir is working on could be used against you. Early in his current term, Trump signed an executive order requiring government agencies to consolidate all of their information about you into one giant database, something that has never been done before. To help process this massive amount of information, Trump chose Palantir. Trump claims this is about efficiency, but as one Silicon Valley investor described it, Palantir is, quote, building the infrastructure of the police state. Data privacy experts warn that when government data is pooled together, it can be used by a tyrant to intimidate or silence opposition. The possibilities for abuse are huge. One of Palantir's major projects is a new immigrant surveillance system for ICE's deportations. We've already seen Trump target people or organizations he considers enemies. Imagine if he could punish or deny services to individual Americans based on their political affiliation, whether they've attended a protest, or even posted an unflattering picture of him online. Palantir could be giving Trump the power to do just this. Palantir co-founder and Trump ally Peter Thiel has made no secret of his disdain for democracy, writing, quote, I no longer believe that freedom and democracy are compatible. But when he speaks of freedom, he isn't thinking about you. To him, freedom means that he and his fellow tech oligarchs get to do what they want without consequences, while the rest of us live in an authoritarian police state. It's a match made in Mordor. Trump gets the infrastructure to go after his enemies. Thiel gets to end American democracy. And if Thiel's anti-democratic sentiments weren't terrifying enough, it also appears he isn't sure if humans are all that great either.
You would prefer the human race to endure, right? You're hesitating.
Yeah, well,
yes?
I don't know. I would
This is a long hesitation. The danger of Palantir's AI-powered super database on all Americans is amplified by the vast wealth and power of those associated with it and their apparent disdain for democratic institutions. To protect democracy and our individual freedoms, we need to elect leaders who will defend the public from corporations like Palantir, not partner with them. Tolkien's Palantir fell under the control of Sauron. Thiel's Palantir is falling under the control of Trump. How this story ends is up to all of us. Please, help spread the word by sharing this video.
In October, 7 million of us took to the streets across the country to show the world that we don't accept kings in America, and the power belongs to the people. We knew that our work would not end there. With Trump and his MAGA allies now doubling down on their billionaire giveaways and their cruel attacks on working people, our task is to stay vigilant, stay united, and continue to push back. The No Kings Alliance is the rapid response arm of the movement. Join this action by going to nokings.org/alliance and mark your calendar to check in weekly. Each Wednesday, the website posts fresh calls to action that target timely issues and publishes other resources to build a culture of defiance. This movement is on the move. Let's stay in formation.
Hi, this is Brenda Rodriguez Lopez with the Washington Immigrant Solidarity Network, and this is Free Speech TV.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
Welcome to the second hour, of our program. The dollar is crashing. I don't know if you've noticed, gold is over $5,000 an ounce. You know, I remember when we started this program 24 years ago, we actually had an advertiser that was selling gold at that time, which is why I was paying attention to it. In fact, I bought some, which was subsequently, I think, hijacked, but whatever, by a moving company. But one of the problems of owning physical gold. But it was like, $300 an ounce, or in that neighborhood. It's now 5,000. What that means is not that the price of gold has gone up. It's that the value of the dollar has gone down. Even though the dollar is not denominated in gold, for all practical purposes, every currency around the world is measured against gold. And so as our dollar is crashing, and this is, a significant crash, right? It's been cratering the last few days. We're seeing a significant drop. You can see this in Bloomberg's DXY index, which measures the dollar against 6 G10 currencies. This is the second time within a year. The first was in April of this year, or last year, April of 2025, when Trump announced his Liberation Day, when he announced all of his tariffs. The dollar collapsed. And the dollar's collapsing again right now. And this is across the board, I would argue, alarming. And the consequence of that is that the Fed is going to be meeting, I'm not sure if it's this week or if it's next week, but soon, to decide whether to lower interest rates. And of course, Donald Trump is demanding that Jerome Powell lower interest rates. Powell isn't the decider. It's actually the Fed Open Market Committee, the FOMC, that makes that decision. He has one vote on it, and considerable persuasion power, but basically it's the vote. And it certainly looks like they're not going to lower rates. They're going to keep them where they are, and that Brazil, Canada, and Sweden may also do the same thing. So keep an eye on these things. More than a dozen, including the Bank of England and the European Central Bank, have said that they back Jerome Powell with, quote, full solidarity. More than a dozen central bankers. Why? Because Trump is trying to politicize the Fed. We saw this happen in Turkey, for example, when Erdogan became a dictator in Turkey. He was concerned that, inflation was bad and interest rates were high because the central bank was trying to reduce inflation. And he packed the central bank in Turkey with toadies, which is what Trump wants to do. The toadies then lowered interest rates. Lowered interest rates increased the velocity of money through the economy and increased borrowing and increased risky behavior. And the result of that was that inflation exploded into the double digits. I mean, like the mid to high double digits, 30, 40, 50%, really substantial inflation in Turkey. And that's what Trump wants. And now you've got Lisa Cook, who's a member of the Fed.
Subscribe to Tom Hartman, man. Subscribe to Tom Hartman if you don't got the Free Speech channel.
You got Jerome Powell, who's looking
on
at
cable television. Subscribe to Tom Hartman.
You got a grand jury that has subpoenaed people around Jerome Powell to figure out if he's doing something wrong. Can we put him in jail? This is wild stuff. Trump is destroying the value of our currency. He's destroying our economy. This is what Republicans do, right? 10 of the last 11 recessions have been under Republican presidents. That's not a coincidence. It's a fact pattern. Republicans drastically cut taxes on billionaires, which hurts the economy, and cut the social safety net that supports the middle class, which hurts the economy. And then, encourage deregulation and wild behavior by banks and insurance companies and others that hold large chunks of our currency, of our cash. And the result is, inflation and destruction of the economy. Meanwhile, the Trump administration's brutality keeps stepping up another notch every day. This was yesterday in Phoenix, Arizona. ICE went to a restaurant, Zips Sports Grill, and apparently arrested a few of the people working there. Presumably they were undocumented, Hispanic people. And there were protesters on the sidewalk. They were not impeding anyone. They weren't in the street. They were on the sidewalk. It was a peaceful protest. There was nothing illegal about it. And as these ICE thugs were driving away from the restaurant, having, dragged off a couple of the restaurant's employees, apparently, maybe customers, I'm not sure. But, they snatched their people, and as they were driving off, one of their cars drove right up along the curb, and one of the guys in there rolled down the window and leaned out and sprayed mace or pepper spray or bear spray or whatever it was, some, dangerous chemical weapon into the faces of these peaceful protesters who were simply standing on the sidewalk. You can hear voices shouting, oh my God, I'm in pain. The people trying to help out each other. Somebody, you get this stuff in your eyes and it can damage your vision for the rest of your life. You get it in your lungs, it can damage your lungs. I mean, these are poisons. This is the kind of brutality that these thugs just appear to delight in inflicting on average Americans who are simply saying, wait a minute, why are you guys wearing masks? Wait a minute, why are you killing people and we don't even have the right to know your name? Why are you kicking in doors without warrants like the Fourth Amendment requires? And the Fifth Amendment, for that matter, which requires due process of law? I mean, these are reasonable questions. These are not just questions being asked by Democrats. They're being asked by Republicans as well. Cardinal Joseph Tubin of Newark, right, one of the top Catholic officials in the United States, on last night delivered an interfaith prayer service. It was hosted by Faith in Action. And I'll just read from Michael J. O'Loughlin's piece over at NCR Online. He writes, Tobin described a character lamenting the incursion of fascist forces. He's recounting a 1936 novel by Ignacio Silone called Bread and Wine. He described a character lamenting the incursion of fascist forces who asked the priest, "Father, what can we do?" With the machinery of death set in motion, as Cardinal Tobin put it, the priest tells the young woman that what worries dictators and authoritarian regimes is the person who scrawls on the piazza wall, "No." The Cardinal Joseph Tobin said, quote, "I think if we are serious about putting our faith in action, we need to say no, each one of us." And then he went on to explain what saying no looks like today. He said it's by telling the truth about what is happening and honoring those whose lives have been upended. Meanwhile, Bernie Sanders is calling out the oligarchs who are facilitating all this. He writes over on Twitter, he says, thanks to Trump, right-wing multi-billionaire Larry Ellison will now control the TikTok algorithm along with CBS, MTV, the Free Press, Black Entertainment Television, BET, CMT, Simon & Schuster, Nickelodeon, Paramount Plus, Pluto TV, and more. And he adds, this is what oligarchy looks like. Well, now that the Ellison family, which owns CBS now, and all these other platforms that I just described, has taken over TikTok, CNN, this is a CNN report by Scotty Andrew, quote, the comedian Megan Stelter, who posts absurd character skits to an audience in the high hundreds of thousands on TikTok, tried sharing a different kind of video on Sunday night, driven by the death of Alex Pretty, urging her fellow Christians to speak out against ICE raids in Minneapolis. We have to abolish ICE, she says in the video. I truly believe that's what Jesus would do. On video, or on Instagram, the video was reposted, not just liked, reposted over 12,000 times. Very popular. But it never made it to TikTok because TikTok is refusing to allow her to upload, to publish this video. CNN notes, last week a majority American-owned joint venture company took control of TikTok's assets in the U.S. in a deal shepherded by the Trump administration. Among its new investors is the tech company Oracle, whose executive chair Larry Ellison is a close affiliate of President Donald Trump. Oracle will store U.S. TikTok users' data in a secure U.S. cloud environment. And then it just goes through person after person after person who says that their anti-Trump or anti-ICE TikToks are now being censored. Just 2 days into the Ellison family now, owning TikTok, or a big chunk of it. Senator Chris Murphy of Connecticut, in a post on X, Sunday night, night before last, shared a post from a TikTok user who alleges content critical of ICE was being censored, adding, it's hard to keep track of all the threats to democracy right now, but this is at the top of my list. This user, David Levitt, has 14,400 followers. He put up an anti-ICE video, and it got 276 views. He put up 2 other anti-ICE videos, and they show ineligible for recommendation. Democratic California State Senator Scott Weiner, or maybe it's Weiner, called TikTok state-controlled media in a post on X, saying he posted a video to TikTok about state legislation that would allow people to sue ICE, but a TikTok account is showing it's still sitting at 0 views. Billie Eilish, in a post on her Instagram story early Monday, shared a TikTok video with her brother Phineas O'Connell criticizing those who justified the killing of Pretty. Now, this is Billie Eilish. That video now has 114 likes. She says, TikTok is silencing people. It's incredible. Typically, there would have been hundreds of thousands or millions of likes. Clearly, the TikTok algorithm is now doing Donald Trump's dirty work on behalf of, apparently, the Ellison family. Steve Vladeck, a professor of law at Georgetown University, said he had intended a post criticizing ICE officers for entering homes without warrants. His post has been under review by TikTok for 9 hours now. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. Apparently, TikTok is no longer a safe place if you are opposed to the Trump administration. Friggin' brilliant. Let me tell you, Blue Sky is a great alternative.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
Billie Eilish, excuse me. It is 18 minutes past the hour. We'll be back. welcome back. Jessica in Chicago. Hey, Jessica, what's up?
Hi, Tom.
Hey.
Thank you for keeping us informed all the time. And I just want to say, I'm sorry. Caught me off guard a minute. The caller, Adam, some good news. NBA players are speaking up against the murders. Steve Kerr and Charles Barkley put out good statements. And so right now, ICE has 22 ICE agents employed. And Tom, the seven ICE agents, the ICE squad, the murdering ICE squad, the 7-person was immediately flown out of Minneapolis to another city. And the last I heard, it was on MSNBC. They're still working, no discipline, no reprimand at all. ICE didn't want that murdering squad identified, so they couldn't be questioned by the state police. Also, Tom, that was what ICE stole Alex's body and his cell phone. The parents deserve those back.
Mm-hmm.
And
especially since he was using his cell phone to film the police.
Right, but I'm sure there's family photos. They deserve that back. And ICE tear gas used right now, the green tear gas, is illegal in other countries because it's so dangerous.
Yep.
The Geneva Convention outlawed that for wars.
Yeah, it can cause organ damage and cancer.
What? Yes. And Tom, my daughter works at a hospital right now. The Nurses Association is asking, in honor of Alex Prete, that everyone needs to call all the senators, and tell them not to fund Homeland Security at all.
Yeah.
The big, beautiful bill gave ICE $75 billion. Also, $170 billion is the total amount the Department of Homeland Security has in 2025 legislative package this year. And then, Tom, the hypocrisy is insane. ICE's incentive package to join 60,000 student loan repayment for those ICE agents joining.
Right.
Not to mention the 50,000 just a bonus for joining.
Yeah, Republicans are totally opposed to student loan forgiveness unless you're willing to go out and kill protesters.
And maybe there aren't too many of college. I don't know.
Yeah,
I shouldn't say that.
Well, also, it might be a scam because they say that they will not pay your student loans down until you've been with them for 5 years. And 5 years from now, God only knows what the rules will be.
I'm saying there aren't that many Republicans there, but I shouldn't say that. I hope
it's
there
true.
are college educated.
Democrats are more likely to be college educated than Republicans. That's a fact.
Yeah. 60,000 though. Nice.
Yeah.
Repayment. So I'm upset over everything, and I go all over the place, so I'm sorry, but most important thing, everyone call a couple senators all week.
Yep. Each one of us has 2 senators unless we live in D.C. Or Puerto Rico. And we need to be calling. Yeah.
I called all those 7 traitors, the Democratic Senate traitors that voted against it, and I gave them an earful, and the people answering were on my side. I was amazed.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. They figured out. They screwed up. Jessica, thank you. We'll be right back. Missed my opening rant today? It's usually published over at HartmanReport.com, where you can read it and share it with your friends for free. Check it out, HartmanReport.com. Human beings have a couple of unique characteristics.
Subscribe to the Tom
first is that
Hartman
we can be very tender
program
and
on
loving
YouTube,
and
man.
concerned and caring.
If y'all don't have the cable television stuff, I didn't know they existed, but I guess they've been going on like 20 years. Enjoy every day. Like, enjoy every day. It's too much politics stuff. People brainwashed by the media and everything now these days. like on the internet, because the internet is social media. So when somebody say media, you really don't know whether they're talking about mainstream media on the TV, cable television, or like, you know, they're independent. They're not funded by like you know, whoever the elites are that are funding. That stuff complicated, man. I don't really know for sure. But I do respect that man for what he does. It's melting a little bit. Every now and then, Free Speech TV, they'll be requesting donations, like a radio, like on the radio, because they get close to going out of business. But you know, the more you know about history, the weirder it gets. It gets weird. Don't let all the bad people ruin it for the rest of them. I guess that is what happened. But a lot of times it's ignorance that causes like people to be bad, like ignorance, like, you know, like if you go to school for 12 years like I did, you're more likely to be like a better person type stuff. A lot of them people that never had school. See, I really appreciate school for what it was. You know, back in the old days, some people were just maniacs, right? They believed in all kind of stuff. Or they thought they didn't, you know, it's just, it's common sense, y'all. It's common sense. It's always been crazy folks. Can't teach them nothing. Like this woman, she says she's schizophrenic. And she sees numbers backwards, and she goes into psychosis when she has to read. Wow, it's melting. Oh. And then in the dark, it's still hard. Yo, Don, you good? For a couple nights there, I thought the chicken was gonna freeze to death. You good? Oh man, life's too short for that bullshit, man. Life is too short for that bullshit. That's why a lot of folks don't want to listen to politics. They don't want to participate in no protests. Protesting's got a history of like bad stuff. That's It's got like bad juju all over.
Sometimes a history of giving, at other times a history of taking, at all times a history of capitalism. And given that debt also signifies a promise of ownership, it never delivers on that promise. We have to understand that debt is something that cannot be paid off. Debt, as Harney puts it, presumes a kind of individualized realization to a naturalized economy that is predicated upon exploitation. Can we have, he asks, another sense of what is owed that does not presume a nexus of activities like recognition and acknowledgement, payment and gratitude? Can debt become a principle of elaboration? Moten thinks Moten links economic debt to the brokenness of being in the interview with Stefan Shukatas, who he acknowledges that some debts should be paid and that much is owed, especially to black people, by white people. And yet he says, I also know that it is, that what it is that is supposed to be repaired is irreparable. It can't be repaired. The only thing we can do is tear this stuff down completely and build something new, end of quote. The undercommons do not come to pay their debts, to repair what has been broken, to fix what has been undone. If you want to know what the undercommons wants, what Moten and Harney want, what black people, indigenous people, queers, and poor people want, what we who
What book is that? The Undercommons?
The undercommons want, it is this. We cannot be satisfied with the recognition and acknowledgement generated by the very system that denies A, that anything was ever broken, and B, that we deserve to be the broken part. So we refuse to ask for recognition, and instead we want to take apart, dismantle, tear down that structure right now. That right now limits our ability to find each other, to see beyond it, and to access the places that we know live outside its walls. We cannot say what new structures will replace the ones we live with yet, because once we have torn stuff down, we will inevitably see more and see differently, and feel a new sense of wanting and being and becoming. What we want after the break will be different from what we think we want before the break, and both are necessarily different from the desires that issue from being in the dark. Let's come at this by another path. In the melancholic and visionary 2009 film version of Maurice Sendak's Where the Wild Things Are, 1963, Max, the small seeker who leaves his room, his home, his family to find the world beyond, finds a world of lost and lonely beasts, and they promptly make him their king. Max is the first king the wild things have had, whom they did not eat, and who did not, in turn, try to eat them. And the beasts are the first grown things that Max has met, who want his opinion, his judgment, and his rule. Max's power is that he is small while they are big. He promises the beasts that he has no plans to eat them, and that this is more than anyone has ever promised them. He promises them that he will find ways through and around, and will slip through the cracks and re-crack the cracks if they fill up. He promises to keep sadness at bay and to make the world with the wild creatures that roared their terrible roars and gnashed their terrible teeth and rolled their terrible eyes and showed their terrible claws. That Max fails to make the wild things happy or to save them or to make the world with them is less important than the fact that he found them and he recognized in them the end of something and potentially the path to an alternative in his world, or an alternative to his world. The wild things were not the utopian creatures of fairy tales. They were the rejected and lost subjects of the world Max had left behind. And because he shuttles between the Oedipal land where his mother rules and the ruined world of the wild, he knows the parameters of the real. He sees what is included and what is left out. And he is now able to set sail for another place, a place that is neither the home he left nor the home to which he wants to return. Moten and Harney want to gesture to another place, a wild place that is not simply the leftover space that limbs real and regulated zones of polite society. Rather, it is a wild place that continuously produces its own unregulated wilderness. The zone we enter through Moten and Harney is ongoing and exists in the present, and as Harney puts it, some kind of demand is already being enacted, fulfilled in the call itself. While describing the riots of London in 2011, Harney suggests that the riots and insurrections do not separate out the request, the demand, and the call. Rather, they enact the one in the other. The book is The Undercommons, Fugitive Planning and Black Study. Share the Tom Hartman program with your friends. Our podcast, The Hartman Report, is absolutely free and available wherever fine podcasts are available. And the entire 3-hour podcast is available over at TomHartman.com. So MAGA Mike and the Republicans want a religious test for people running for public office. They want to know that you are sufficiently Christian to be worthy of being elected. Right. MAGA Mike is one of these 7 mountain evangelicals. There are 7 domains where these dominionists believe that we need to have religion completely take them over. Education, religion, family, business, government, military, arts and entertainment, and the media. Seriously. This is not what Jesus was preaching when he said, give unto Caesar what is Caesar.
No, religion slowed a lot of progress in science for a long time, kept us stupid.
It's the opposite of Matthew 25, where Jesus said, the only way to get to heaven is by feeding the hungry, healing the sick, helping the poor.
Mainly those Arabian religions.
Christian, anti-Christian, in fact. In fact, I think you could say it is the Antichrist's work. There's a piece about it over at HartmanReport.com.
Christianity comes from Arabia, North Africa. It used to be called Persia.
She wasn't loud, she wasn't armed, just a soul with a beating heart. But some men see a shadow and forget what mercy's for. A flash of fear, a practice lie, another name the news will try.
Lots of extinct religions. Lots. Like a whole lot.
It was a shot they never had to take, but they took it.
One day I'm gonna be extinct.
Left her name on the concrete.
You know, wake up. Wake up.
They said order, they said threat, but there's blood on that mistake. It was the shot they never had to take.
36 minutes.
But a lot of enlightenment can also be a burden.
Michael in Bronx, New York. Hey, Michael, what's up?
Hey, Tom. I had to call in given the latest shooting of ICE and the BS from Trump and company saying, all right, we're going to fix things. So we're sending Tom Homan in to Minneapolis. People don't believe for a moment that's going to change anything for the better. In fact, I will say it will make things worse simply because Homan was one of those many MAGA people that kept repeating the doggone lies that followed the shooting of Renee Good, and now this latest shooting of this gentleman. I'm so upset. I'm sorry I forgot his name, but nonetheless,
Alex.
You're going to jump.
Alex Preddy.
Yeah.
Thank you, Alex Preddy. You're already firing out the BS. The BS lines of saying it was self-defense this, it was self-defense that, but not even looking at the damn videos, okay? So let's get one thing straight here. And I really wish people would stop saying these federal agents, ICE agents and all that stuff. You have no proof that these people are law enforcement because they're masked up. There's no badge number. There's no name or nothing but just fake-ass police patches and all that stuff.
Right.
That don't mean a thing because we have had law enforcement impersonators doing the same thing and going into committing criminal acts, which includes raping women. Now, let me go a bit further. Let me go a bit further with this. Until these people prove that these are law enforcement agents, don't believe that for a minute. And I'm wondering, Tom, now you and I have met when you visited New York City before, all right? You remember?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I don't know if you noticed that here in New York City, we have, and it was installed by the NYPD, surveillance cameras throughout the city, Manhattan, the Bronx has it, Queens, Brooklyn, and so forth, in the highly populated areas to make sure people are safe and to detect any crime that goes on. I'm wondering if Minneapolis
have something like that, or in Chicago, or so forth. Because just as much as Trump, knowing Todd Blanche, who I absolutely exploded at for marching Meet the Press this past Sunday, with his bogus lies, and him and clearly upsetting the moderator, Kristen Walker. The thing is that they want to cover up all these videos, especially those that are shot by the protesters that are on the street trying to snatch their cell phones and destroy them and all that stuff. If those cities have the city and state installed surveillance cameras, that's city and state property, and that's evidence they cannot grab their hands on.
Right.
And thus, I would.
It would be interesting, Michael, to see if there is surveillance footage that captured these killings. Although there's plenty of individual bystander cell phone cameras.
Right.
But
the whole thing is they cannot touch those that
if they exist. But there's also this thing of if they are they flock cameras. There's like something like 80,000 of these flock cameras, these cameras all over the country that read license plate numbers and track all of us all the time. And that's a private corporation, and ICE has a contract with them. They buy the information from them. So I don't know, Michael. We'll have to wait and see. Michael, thank you for the call. Devon in Pittsburgh. Hey, Devon, what's up?
Hey, Tom. Well, just to tag on to Ziggy and Jessica and yourself, we cannot lose the thread here. We need to shut down ICE completely. And that adage about when you're in a hole, stop digging. Yeah, that's the first thing we got to do is shut off all future funding. Yep. Then we can approach, getting rid of this Gestapo in America completely. But it's so important that everyone call your senators, whether they're Republicans or Democrats. The Democrats have the power in their own hands to shut this down. So please call those people who represent you in D.C. and remember that the most common way that people give up their power is by believing that they don't have any. That's Alice Walker, and that's still true today. Yeah. So tell those Dems, use your power. You've got it.
You do have power.
I'm with you. Well said, Devon. Thank you very much. Kevin in Woodland Hills, California. Hey, Kevin, what's up?
Hey, Tom, how you doing? Good. So I'm going to go on a different topic, the Air Force One. I'm just curious. I know that they have two Air Force Ones, and I believe that they fly both of them on international visits because of security reasons. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they fly them over partly in case something happens to the plane, and also as a decoy, right?
I don't know. I know that they transport the Beast, the presidential limousine on Air Force One. I don't know that they require two Air Force Ones to do that, or that they always fly. I don't know, Kevin. This is an area that I don't know much about. I'm sorry.
Well, I had read that somewhere. I had read today. I was trying to do some research on this, that they do fly Air Force One, not all the time, but sometimes over, just in case something happens to the plane that the president's in. Yeah. So my question is that since Trump is going to get this Qatari plane, and it's only going to, you could tell that plane versus other planes, other jets, Boeing jets, I would imagine, that wouldn't that be kind of a sitting duck? If the enemy wanted to shoot at it, because they might be able to identify that one as the one that the president is in.
Well, the reason it's costing $1 billion to upgrade this $400 million jet is to outfit it with all the anti-detection equipment and everything else. The latest I heard is that by the end of this year, Trump may be using this bribe that he got from Qatar, this flying bordello. We'll see. But that's what it looks like. It looks like a flying whorehouse. But Kevin, thank you for the call. I'm sorry I don't have an answer for you. Don in Pittsburgh, Kansas. Hey, Don, what's up?
Oh, hi. I wonder if we have passed sort of a Kent State moment with what's going on.
I think so. I think so.
Because if you were alive, the country changed.
Oh, yeah.
It took a while for people to realize it, but it looks too much like Uganda or the Philippines or something. When people, the pictures of the 9 guys standing in a semicircle firing at the second guy's body, that's powerful stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like Rodney King was the first time when there were really a lot of videos, because some white guy going by with a video camera took the most damaging stuff. And now you can't do stuff. There's people taking your phone. If you're doing this kind of stuff, there's people filming you all the time.
Yeah.
Different views, not always all that good. But I will say the New York Times and everything, they did a good job putting this stuff together, made it pretty clear what had happened.
Yeah, with Renee Good's shooting as well. Yeah, they first did a really great job and just made it very clear that Donald Trump and Kristi Noem and Tom Homan and Greg Bovino and all of these guys were just lying through their teeth to us, just gleefully lying to us. And Fox News, lying to us, sometimes by commission, sometimes by omission, but it's really tragic how people are misinformed. Don, thank you.
And these last 2 were white people, and it counts for more.
Yeah, sadly. Sadly, and Alex Purdy is a man too.
They 9 people. They killed 9 people.
So far, yeah. Don, thank you for the call. We'll be right back.
You're listening to Thom Hartmann. Visit ThomHartmann.com for audio and video archives.
Occupying the media 3 hours a day, 5 days a week, right here. We'll be right back. Welcome back, Lori in Ocala, Florida. Hey,
I'd have been a lot better a long time ago if I knew about Thom Hartmann instead of Alex Jones.
Just a quick heads up from Ocala, Florida. We've had some ICE sightings. We have a lot of vacant vehicles around the major roadways, and a lot of big flags are going by people's houses on pickup trucks. But that's not what I called about. I called about ISIS. I keep thinking every time I hear the plural of something that ISIS done, I think of Sharia law, and I think of how Sharia law is like a misnomer. It's like a guiding set of principles for the Quran, but they turned it into some horrible Islamic law. And back in 2010, states started writing laws against Sharia law. And I think the Southern Poverty Law Center has some great information on this. They came up with 201 introduced laws, and 14 of them were enacted. Well, the head of the anti-Sharia movement is David Yerushalmi, and he is one of the principal authors of ALEC. And do you know what ALEC is? ALEC is
the American Legislative Exchange Council. It's where they put together lobbyists and Republican state legislators.
Perfect. And there's another group called the American Freedom Law Center, which is also this fellow David Yerushalmi is also at the head of that. And he's kind of been pushing this for a long time into our courts. And I do not for 1 minute believe that the Supreme Court has let all of this stuff fly without somehow being behind it. Yeah. And I think that they're primarily Catholic extremists. And I was Catholic. I love my religions, but I think that this is their chosen hate group. Like Hitler had the Jews. I think our Supreme Court is going after Islam and is going after Muslims. Exactly. Yeah. And I think that this is what's happening. It may not be, but I think that the Supreme Court is behind it, and they do want black people out. They've let it be known. Alito wants to have a house that isn't surrounded by or near black people, and his wife turned the flag upside down in their summer home and said, wait till next summer, it won't be like this. They don't prefer, they prefer white people.
Yeah.
And I think that this is all something sanctioned by the Supreme Court, and I think it's much bigger than the presidency. And I just wanted to get your thoughts on that.
I think it's bigger than the Supreme Court itself, Lori. The white nationalist movement, the white supremacist movement, the Christian nationalist movements, and to some extent the pro-Netanyahu, pro-Israel movement, all kind of share this common set of right-wing, let's turn America into essentially a soft dictatorship worldview. Where basically, only white men, the Israel people would include Jewish men, the Christian nationalists would exclude Jewish men. So it's, so it's an uneasy coalition. But and there's enormous money behind it. And now you've got Leonard Leo with $1.4 billion to spend. They basically own the Supreme Court, in my opinion, and increasingly the rest of our courts as well. Lori, I think you nailed it. Thanks for the call. We'll be back. It's 49 and a half minutes past the hour. I'll be back with more of your calls in 1 minute. Stay with us.
Wow.
Hey, thanks so much for sharing our program and for reaching out to our stations and sponsors and letting them know that you're listening. It really means a lot to us. Welcome back. 9 minutes before the hour, or almost. Actually, it was about 10 minutes before the hour. Rick in Bremerton, Washington. Hey, Rick, what's on your mind today?
Oh, well, you got to me. I was watching Rachel Maddow, and she's talking about how they're trying to get all these detention centers all over the place. Well, if they're rounding up immigrants, why aren't they deporting them? Who's paying to keep these people in prison for months and years?
You and I are. $750 a day per person per day, and the money is going to a handful of right-wing companies that several of whom are actually affiliated with the Trump family. And those companies then kick back tens or if not hundreds of millions of dollars in campaign contributions to Republican legislators. It's a scam.
And at Auschwitz, in the concentration camps, they had work centers next to them. Is that the idea? To turn these into slave labor, to rent out to the fields and the meat packagers? Or
I have not seen, of these detention facilities, so-called, I prefer to call them concentration camps, because the difference between a prison and a concentration camp is that a prison is for people who have been through a legal process and adjudicated as guilty of a crime. And a concentration camp is for people who have not been through a legal process, have not been adjudicated of a crime, and, even their arrest might be questionable. So number one, I call these concentration camps. Number two, the 13th Amendment does allow slavery in modern America. Slavery is still legal in the United States of America, only under one circumstance.
You're in prison.
If you've been convicted of a crime. But the people in these detention centers have not, or these concentration camps, have not been convicted of any crimes. And even being in the United States without permission is not a crime. It's a civil offense. It's not a criminal offense. So you cannot make these people work as slaves the way that you can, the way that Mississippi does, or Alabama does, or Georgia does, with their prisoners. You can't force them into slavery. And so, to the best of my knowledge, they're simply locking them up. And there's one in Texas, this Dilley Center, where they've got all these children, and they're locking them up in solitary and in cages, and the children are starting to go insane. I mean, this is so obscene what we are doing. And as Rachel pointed out last night on our program, all across the country, as ICE comes around and says, hey, we'd like to build a detention center here. We got one, we've had several calls actually from Coos Bay, Oregon, which is a little town on the Oregon coast, about an hour and a half, 2 hour drive from here. And they want to turn a big warehouse into a nice detention facility. And the people are like, hell no. And that's happening all over the country. People are just sick of it. We do not want to turn ourselves into Nazi Germany, as no matter how vigorous the Republicans want to make that happen. Rick, thank you very much. Pearson in Lamarck, Texas. Hey, Pearson, what's up?
A theoretically edgy, icy, no pun intended, Tuesday, Tom, and especially in light of that news that you shared a little while ago of those poor, defenseless, nonviolent citizens gathered on the sidewalk in front of a restaurant who get covered with chemicals by a bunch of violent, childish Klansmen on the company, on our payroll, by the way, which really irritates me. So I have an answer to what I think might have been a question, it sounded like to me, from an hour ago, when you mentioned these 80-year cycles in history. And made it sound kind of mysterious, and I think it's pretty clear. It's basically self-fulfilling prophecy. And what I mean by that is our average citizens, unfortunately, aren't well-read. Enough of us don't study history, but that's not the problem. The problem is they don't while their bosses do, especially those lawyers who are putting together that 2025 plan, the ones who fucking Donald's here. Donald is as ignorant as most Americans. But it doesn't matter. He's in power, and they put the idea in his head, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. And so they do. Historically, these movers and shakers who do study history, they know, they see these patterns, and they take full advantage of it. It's not coincidence. It's
no, I think the billionaires who put together Project 2025 and have all this media that they own and everything else, I think they're fully aware of the fact that we're at that 80-year point where the country, as we have had to do all the way back to the 1400s, every 80 years we have to decide, are we still going to be a democracy? And if so, are we going to even be a better democracy? And, 80 years ago now it was World War II. 80 years before that it was the Civil War. 80 years before that it was the American Revolution. 80 years before that, the Armada crisis. 80 years before that, the War of the Roses. I mean, it just goes all the way back, right? And I think that they're looking at this going, okay, this is our moment. This is this moment in time where the country can actually change. It can become a different kind of country. And they're doing everything they can to turn us into a fascist state.
That's right. It's not mystical. It's not magical. It's just self-fulfilling prophecy.
There you go.
They know it.
Yep, I agree. Kirsten, thank you. David in San Francisco. Hey, David, what's up?
Oh, thanks, Tom. I appreciate following both of them. There was a woman that just called talking about Somalia in comparison to what's going on. One of the things that you might want to remember about Somalia, the old biblical scholars were trying to figure out where Eden was, and they couldn't figure out if it was between the Tigris and Euphrates, which was in Iraq, or in Ethiopia. And if you look at where Somalia is, it's the beach of Ethiopia. It's the edge of the water. And so Somalia is the beaches of Eden. And what Project 2025 is apparently up to is they want to conquer Egypt or Eden and frack it or exploit Eden. So that's one of my popular memes.
What are the natural resources they're trying to get?
Well, any number of them. The reason they thought of Eden as that is because it was so lush. Not only topsoil, but it was the vast wonder of how much it was the bounty of Eden.
Yeah, I get it. David, I'm out of time, but thanks. That's a fascinating point. Thank you very much. We'll be right back. It's, we're hitting the top of the hour. On the other side of the break, Italy says no to ICE. Really? Stick around.
You're listening to Thom Hartmann.
Seven Mountains Mandate by Matthew Bodie, exposing the dangerous plan to Christianize America and destroy democracy. We'll start with the introduction, the story of the mountains.
Hello there. This is one of the FSTV Frontline Funders, Joe, from Washington, D.C. I love being a Frontline Funder because FSTV is the one place I know I'll get fact-based progressive news. Also, the diverse programming is both informative and entertaining. You can join me today by making a donation of $1,000 or more this winter. Join us in leading this winter pledge drive and make sure FSTV is set for the upcoming election year. We need you. Email development@freespeech.org and let them know you want to be an FSTV Frontline Funder.
A partir de la presidencia de Trump, el turismo se vio súper afectado. Estamos viviendo una gran incertidumbre.
Airbnb, trabajé desde el 2017. Para muchísimas familias cubanas, Airbnb es muy importante.
Con la presidencia de Obama, pues se abrió un canal de intercambio cultural y turístico, pues muy favorable para un tipo de negocios como este.
Hubo momentos en que prácticamente tú ibas a ubicar un cliente y casi todas las casas estaban llenas. Y ya con Trump sí, todo ha sido mucho más difícil por el tema de la política que está aplicando hacia Cuba. Lo que mandaron fue un correo explicando que a partir del 1 de mayo ya iban a tener que dejar de funcionar los alojamientos en Cuba y que solamente iban a poder seguir trabajando con los que tuvieran una forma de pago en el extranjero. Porque por lo general en Cuba no todas las familias tienen cuentas en el extranjero. Nosotros mismos no tenemos esas cuentas. De que Cuba entró de nuevo en la lista negra, se han prohibido el tema de las remesas. Este es un mecanismo de algún modo de limitar que entre el dinero quizás al Estado cubano, pero es que no está afectando al Estado cubano, está afectándonos a nosotros. Porque este dinero es de nuestras familias, yo no tengo un hotel, yo no soy el Estado. Yo tengo un apartamentito pequeñito.
En el primer mandato, Trump firma medidas que nos afectaron directamente. Con el mandato de Biden, entonces, esas medidas no se eliminaron. Biden no hizo absolutamente nada con eso. Por tanto, seguimos en la lista negra de países que auspician terrorismo.
Lo ideal sería acceso a otras plataformas. Y te digo, no las tenemos porque cuando ven que el alojamiento es en Cuba, no te dejan ni terminar el tema de hacerte la inscripción en la plataforma.
Wikipedia fue la única fuente de turistas básicamente para nosotros y para mucha gente que conocemos. Por tanto, es nuestro sustento. Desde febrero hemos tenido una sola reserva. Y Expedia normalmente nos llena la casa. Nosotros nunca hemos tenido problema. Hace 5 años que nosotros no teníamos casa vacía por un mes. Y eso es lo que está sucediendo actualmente. Las hipótesis que podemos tener pueden tener que ver con que haya sanciones nuevas en marcha y nosotros no lo sepamos. Con que tenga que ver con la residencia de Trump, que siempre ha sido como más orientado a perseguir eso y no lo sepamos. Subimos de una noticia que a Expedia la están llevando a juicio, que están haciendo juicios colectivos por la explotación de terrenos en Cuba o de la vinculación con turismo que explota terreno expropiado. En la primera administración de Trump se fue Booking.com. Fue el primer gran golpe.
Tú vives de este negocio y te iba muy bien. ¿Y qué pasa? Que ahora de pronto ya te has quedado sin economía.
Sí, tengo amigos del gremio que tuvieron que cerrar. Porque su negocio era más chico, porque sí, les afectaron mucho más directamente las medidas.
Si lo poquito que te llegaba, pues ya no te puede llegar. Habrá gente que no pueden hacer nada. Es durísimo.
Want to learn more about Cuba? Follow Belly of the Beast for hard-hitting stories you won't find anywhere else. And come discover Cuba from the inside.
Yeah, we're gonna have to come to Cuba with all the cards.
Ever hear of Trump's national security presidential memorandum? This memo won't keep our community safe, but it will protect Trump and his billionaire cronies by punishing our free speech. This is a nonprofit killer. It empowers the IRS to strip the tax-exempt status of so-called anti-American, anti-capitalist, or anti-Christian groups Trump claims are financing political violence or domestic terrorism. Come on. We know who's in the crosshairs. This memo aims to intimidate nonprofit media organizations like FSTV and other keepers of political resistance. We don't back down. We double down because you've got our back. Please add your name to the Intercept's petition demanding the IRS not punish nonprofits and newsrooms for expressing their constitutional rights. Now that's the American way.
This is Armando Garibay, Donor Engagement Coordinator, and you're tuned into Free Speech TV.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
Hey, welcome back to the third hour of our program. This is fascinating. A militia that kills. There's a minor uproar going on in Italy right now. The mayor of Milan, Giuseppe Sala, told Italian radio, RTL Radio, that if Donald Trump, or actually in this case it's Marco Rubio and J.D. Vance, they're coming to Italy for the Winter Olympic Games. And if they show up with bodyguards from ICE, which has been announced, the federal government has said that ICE is going to be bodyguarding J.D. Vance and Marco Rubio. If they show up with ICE bodyguards, the Italians are making it very, very clear that those ICE people are not welcome. This is fascinating. The games begin on the 6th of February, so that's what, about 2 weeks? Yeah, a week and a half. And the mayor of Milan says they're not welcome because they don't guarantee they're aligned with our democratic security management methods. This is a militia that kills, he said. It's clear that they are not welcome in Milan. There's no doubt about it. Can we just say no to Trump for once? We can take care of their security ourselves. We don't need ICE. It's fascinating. Now, RIA State TV, this is the, sort of the PBS of Italy, although here PBS is like a fringe, kind of a marginal player, and in Italy, RAI is a major player, sort of like BBC in the UK. It's not uncommon across, European countries. And they played video of ICE agents threatening to smash the windows of their own reporter's vehicle in Minneapolis. In other words, Italian television sent a team to Minneapolis to report on what's going on. That team rented a car at the airport. They're driving around in this rental car with a camera filming what's going on with ICE, and some ICE guys pull them over and threaten to smash their windows. And they get it all on film, and it plays all across Italy.
Wow.
So the Italians get it, that these guys are just, small penis gun club goons. They are these, pathetically insecure men, which is Common. I mean, this is a common characteristic among conservative men. Just look it up. Google it. Conservative men submissive. There's literally dozens of studies that have been done over the years, finding that the more a man identifies as being, quote, conservative, the more likely he is to be impotent, the more likely he is to be uncertain of his own sexual identity, and certainly the more likely he is to be unsure of his own masculinity. And that's who Trump is hiring. That's who's following Trump. That's who you're going to see when Trump shows up, in a couple of hours in Iowa to give a speech, which, by the way, I think is going to be fascinating. I'm betting, and we'll see, we'll see if I'm right or wrong on this, but my bet is that they're going to have a very small turnout for this thing. The farmers of Iowa, particularly the family farm, they're over it. I mean, they got screwed badly by Trump with his tariffs. And they know it. And yeah, he got Congress, he got the Republicans in Congress to give him a couple of $1 billion that he could then pass out to the farmers, but he shouldn't have to do that. And they know that. So pretty much the only people who are going to show up are the people who are the haters, the bigots. The people who have always been there for Trump because they hate the same people he hates. They hate women, or they fear women. They're intimidated by women. These pathetic men who sign up for ICE and show up at Trump rallies. They hate people of color. They've got this weird belief that, there's a racial hierarchy that has to do with intellect, and because they have white skin, they are at the top of that pyramid. I don't know if you caught the news. It was last week that a federally funded study on genetics was done, and involved the genetics of about, as I recall, it was 38,000 people. Don't quote me on the number, look it up, but it was in that neighborhood. And somebody within either the organization who's doing the research or the federal funding agency handed off to a white supremacist group the raw data. So, and it had information about people's race and